Great. So for today's coffee, let's go back to the beginning. Like I shared, general updates from opportunity to hear from you and hopefully answer some of the questions that you're having. Well, if we can't answer them today, then we'll leave with the questions recorded, and we'll make sure to get you an answer as soon as we can. So just an important reminder right out of the gates, there in our original school calendar, we had Monday as a non-student, actually as a holiday. So staff is not working, nor our students, having school on Monday. So that's unchanged. That's remains the same. So please remind your kiddos and yourselves that Monday, there's no school on Monday. So you won't get things pushed out to you like other days.
Dr. Cognetta, can you mute other all participants? Just so there's no background noise, please.
You're asking too much. Doing that from my shared screen, where I asked Mercedes to bail me out. Okay, if I'm sharing my screen.
You can just go to participants and mute all.
You'd think it would be that easy, huh? I see participants on the right-hand side, but because I'm sharing my screen, I'm going to unshare and do it from there.
And if people, it looks like most people have muted, but there's a couple that might be causing some feedback.
Gotcha. All right, I figured it out, and then we can turn that off as needed, right? Let's go back to sharing my screen. Okay. So in regards to our agenda for this coffee, I did want to share just a few updates regarding the closure. Obviously, the largest and greatest one being that we'll be closed for the rest of the school year. We'll talk a little bit about cybersecurity, privacy, supervision, and in this kind of new distance learning model. Dr. Morales talked a little bit about tutoring that we have available, and whoever requests of you, we're trying not to ask too much of you guys, but there's one area where we definitely want some parent support. So I'll talk a little bit about that as well. So just want to reiterate, I know I'm sounding like a broken record, but this is important. Staff hears it and the parents hear it. In this time, the number one priority is to kind of treat this program in a way that's sensitive to the challenges your families are facing. So I know, teacher speak usually is very assertive, right? Teachers often tell their kids, this is how it has to happen. This is what is due by this date, and so on. And that works in school, right? Setting clear expectations works. We're not going to deviate too far from that, but at the same time, we know that things like due dates just may need some flexibility with certain kids because of circumstances at home, right? Inability to get online during times of the day, or full-time working parents in their home, all the different things that this distance learning model, introduces, all the challenges that it introduces. Know that our priority remains kind of being sensitive to you. That'll show up in so many ways, right? I mean, you're still going to hear very kind of clear, direct language from teachers, and if it feels overwhelming, know that if you speak to them, they'll work with you. But that's an important clarification or point that I want to make. The last thing we want to do during a tough time like this is just add to your burden and challenges. This is why it's important for us to get feedback from you as well, to make sure that we're not doing that, but that we're supporting you. So the updates, some which we can speak to with kind of totality, others, still need to get worked out. But since our last coffee, we have extended the closure for the rest of the school year. Not at all a fun kind of conclusion to reach, but given all the guidance and then the decision other school leaders in the area were making, it was the right call. So at the time, remains to be the right call. So we are obviously close to the rest of the school year. That comes with a litany of questions in itself. Some of which, we've been asked, like, will kids have to repeat the same grade level? No, not necessarily. The reason why we're providing distance learning is to just move the school to your homes, with the idea of completing the current grade level from home. For any students who we've already identified as retention candidates, that's still a conversation for us, but as a blanket statement, your school year is completing as it was at school, with some substantial and some nuanced changes that I'll also speak to. We've been asked a little bit about, the logistics of, well, what about the stuff that our kids have at school? Can we go pick it up? And frankly, right now, I'll tell you, it's not priority. So we will work something out to kind of close out the school year and make sure kids' jackets and, the other things are picked up. But given the tightening sort of health guidance, we're not going to, introduce a way in which a lot of people are on campus at the same time. So just be patient on those questions, and we'll work with you to kind of close out the school year and get the things that kids need from school. If it's vital and you just need it now, we've had a few instances like that, then of course contact me and we'll make it happen. But just, general items that can wait, just be patient and wait for the plan to just kind of close out the school year. And again, it's teaching your kids and getting them the right things is takes more precedent than getting stuff from school on the large scale. So I want to talk a little bit about grading. We're getting closer to kind of what the clear policy looks like. One of the challenges of being a little bit ahead of the curve, if you have a comparison with other schools, you notice that we kind of jumped into distance learning before many other schools. We're just prepared to. So one of the challenges of that is that we're kind of at the forefront of it, and we're not really, while other schools and districts can kind of delay this decision because they're just now getting into it, we're already in it. So we have to kind of answer the grading, how we're going to grade in this model sooner than others. But we do want to collaborate with others too. So I want to talk a little bit about that in regards to what our thinking is. Just know that in regards to grading, we haven't set a firm, we haven't kind of come up to the firm answer just yet. But we are looking at kind of guidance from the California Department of Education. We're working really hard to align to Chino Valley. This is specific for our eighth graders. Our eighth graders, as they go on, most of them going to Chino Valley high schools. We worked hard when we were in school, to make sure that they were not put at a disadvantage because of our program that is different than the neighborhood schools. That's unchanged now. So we want to make sure that we do grading wise, aligns to Chino Valley, so our eighth graders can roll right into those high schools as prepared as we've got them. Whatever we end up finalizing, is designed for two things: to hold students harmless, and they're not responsible for this change, and this change introduces a lot of challenges to many of them. So we're not going to punish kids because of the circumstances of the closure and distance learning. So we'll be mindful of that. We're not going to give them, a free pass either, but at the same time, circumstances outside of their control are not going to adversely affect their grades. The other challenge with grading from a distance like this is making sure we're taking the needs of all students into account. A lot of our students, require direct service support to access the content. So we want to make sure that we're providing that support, and also we're able to not have a lack of or different type of service adversely affect their grades as well. So again, no firm decision just yet, but what we're seeing all the way kind of trickle down from college level to high schools and down, one leading kind of option is the credit, no credit approach. So it's kind of the leading process for us. Grading in this model, just let me back up, grading in this model where you're away from kids is challenging, right? It's not an issue of trust or integrity. It's just the fact that you don't really get to see the student produce the work. And so you don't have a real sense of what went into it and what didn't, how long it took, all of those different questions that you can kind of control when you're in your classroom, that all goes away and makes it that much more difficult to kind of assess, what kids know and don't know, and we're able to demonstrate and not demonstrate. So it's challenging anyways, accurate grading, now it's even more so. So one sort of growing policy popular policy for grading is this idea of two categories: credit for the work completion and no credit. Again, we're trying to balance that with not harming kids because of circumstances outside of their control. So we'll keep chipping away at this and making sure that you get a final, clear answer. What teachers have been telling kids is that they are grading, and in a sense they are. They're collecting work, they're giving kids feedback. We're kind of figuring out what's working best, and then we'll be clear on it once it's just finalized. But it seems, without weighing all the factors, it looks like kind of a simple no-brainer. Like, don't you just score the work and turn it and give them feedback? I wish it were that simple, but there are other factors that go into it. So as soon as it's clear, we'll have an answer for you. With that, Dr. Moreno, if you can unmute yourself if you wanted to add anything on grading. Do I unmute you? Do you unmute yourself?
No, I did it. I think I think you covered it pretty well. And the important piece is that students are getting feedback from teachers to let them know where their misconceptions may be, where they're on the right track, and things like that. So that specific feedback coming from teachers is going to be really important at this point. And then I just also wanted to know, I didn't know if you said it at the beginning, Dr. Cognetta, that this is being recorded so that we can post it to those who are unable to attend.
Yes, it is being recorded. Sorry, y'all didn't give your consent, but asking for it now. We're recording it just for people who miss it and so on. Thanks for that. All right, I'm texting my daughter to keep it down in the other room, so now I'm back. There we go. So that's credit. That's a grading piece. Again, nothing firm yet, but you can kind of see, our thinking and thoughts that go into it. So as soon as it's set, you will have it. Know that the work that's being assigned this week is being graded, and so teachers are collecting that. They're giving kids feedback, and then we'll finalize just what it looks like, on the large scale for report cards and so on. Oh, handing it over to Dr. Moreno. You want to talk a little bit about tutoring?
Sure. So this week we are getting off the ground a tutoring program for students who may need it, and that is being serviced by our proctor instructional aides and paraprofessionals. So they would be setting up Google Meets with students, and to kind of get some of the kinks worked out and things like that, we're going to start with teacher referrals for tutors. So when a teacher recognizes that a student may need additional help with understanding the content, with completing assignments, or even just with accessing like the different resources that are being pushed out, they're letting our tutors know that they could, if they would set up Google Meets with them to support them through that. And then as we get things kind of underway, we may open it up a little bit more, and you can certainly reach out to, parents can reach out to teachers to say, I think my student needs some additional help in this. And so that's one area to do it. And even some teachers are providing that as well for their students and setting up additional sessions with them as needed. That's all.
Great, thank you. So yeah, that's a nice perk, in this model. We're able to provide that so students can get that more intensive support outside of their live lessons and revisiting those lessons and so on. Cool. So a couple of requests, some from our front office, and then one from me for this distance learning model. So just in regards to next year, if you're a parent of a current transitional kinder through 7th grade student, you are going to receive an intent to return form. We ask that you complete it. The reason for it is if we have families that do not currently in grades TK through 7 who do not plan on returning next year, we want to know so that we can offer students on our wait list for next year spots. So if you're not returning next year within those grade levels, obviously we want to know so we can make sure that we can offer those open spots to our wait list. And then a different form for parents of our current 8th graders. We also want to know which high schools they're going to, if that's been decided for you. This helps make the records requests and records transfer a little easier. We already know where you're going. We can get that ready to send to your high schools sooner rather than later. So both forms will be out there. I don't think they've been sent yet, but they will be sent either today or very soon. And that will be, helpful to kind of prepare for high school for those 8th graders, and then for us for our overall enrollment. We also pushed out in the last few days a distance learning student release form. And thank you. We got about 350 responses so far. It's pretty quick. So looking to get 100% of our families to respond. So I'll talk a little bit about this. This has to deal with the fact that we're offering live lessons and that we're recording those live lessons. And so with that, obviously comes the need for you to consent to that. The reasons for the recordings are they're beneficial for kids in several ways. First, even if a student attends a live lesson, the recorded lesson is something they can go back to later and revisit as a review, for additional help. We also know that it's good practice to kind of offer those live lessons on a somewhat of a routine basis, right? So kids know at 8:30 they're on for math or whatever it may be. That's generally good for kids to have that kind of routine. We also know that no matter what time we set, that it'll be challenging for some kids to get on. So we don't want to put those kids at a disadvantage. So the live lessons then are available to those students to pull up later if they can't make the live lesson time. Additionally, our paraprofessionals and other support staff either attend those live lessons or visit them later so that they can also have access to what took place in the class and during the lesson to support the students that they either offer tutoring to or direct services in special education. So we encourage you, please complete the form. Those are the reasons and why we're recording the live lessons. They do stay within our domain, which means from our end, we're not pushing them out. They're not going on social media. They're not going outside of our Google Classrooms, which, is only accessible to ASA Thrive accounts. We ask that parents not do anything with the videos either, but we won't be doing anything other than keep them internal to our school. So it's important, that we get the consent from you guys to continue moving forward and providing this. Without it, we put kids at a disadvantage, and that is something we want to avoid at all costs. So the other thing on that I want to talk about, since we're on the topic of the release, is just overall security and so on. The reason we're kind of hesitant to just use a variety, and it may look like a lot from you, but compared to what's possible out there, we've limited the number of resources from the outside that we use, just to make sure that any resource we introduce that requires kids to log in and kind of tracks any data on them, we want to make sure that that they meet all the both federal and local privacy acts. So we kind of vet them before we use them, and then if we're comfortable that they meet their compliance requirements, then we use them. So there's a lot of stuff out there. There's very few that we're actually using that collect, any data on our kids. So that's a sort of a security feature that we take seriously as best we can. Then on that topic, supervision. We're kind of treating this distance learning in regards to supervision similarly to the school day. We do our best to not leave groups of kids, unsupervised in places on our campus. That's not good. So same thing applies in this kind of digital realm here. So luckily, just in the last 24 hours, Google has made some significant upgrades to their live meets, what we use for our live lessons. So in the past, if a teacher created a Google Meet, even if once the teacher closed it and left, kind of kids can gather in that same Google Meet. And that's kind of the equivalent of, sort of ditching class and hanging out, a group of them hanging out behind the handball court or something unsupervised. So going back to a Google Meet was kind of possible. We had some workarounds to help minimize that, like teachers leaving their one Google Meet up all day and checking in and seeing if anybody was logging back in to use that space to kind of gather. So we've done some good work to avoid that, but now Google's kind of helped us out and added some new features that make that even more difficult for kids to kind of gather without us. So we know in this time, how could they not want to get together in whatever form they can? We know they're going to find ways. My daughter does it. She finds a way to kind of have a group chat going with kids on the phone and so on. I get that happens during our school day now, right? But trying to control as much as we can within the ASA Thrive domain so that anything that happens there is supervised closely by us. And that kind of spills into where we need your help. During live lessons, again, we don't want to ask too much of you, but this is one area where you can kind of just keep an eye on where your kids are gathering online and not, just to kind of have that extra set of eyes there. The other thing to ask is teachers have done a really good job of rolling out the expectations during live lessons. And I've been Dr. Brennan and I have been popping into as many of these live lessons as we can. And overwhelmingly, kids are meeting the expectations. There are a couple instances where we've kind of had to rein them in. We had a couple kids like bouncing around and dancing, and it was distracting to others, and maybe they were excited to see one another. I totally get that. But if you happen to notice something that's just a little off, please do kind of support us and chime in there and help us to reinforce the kind of expectations during live lessons. This is one, where I think we'll be very flexible with the demands of the academics and timelines and so on. I think we need to be very supportive of that. But in regards to like behavior expectations, we'll definitely need your help on that area. And again, I'm speaking to it, making it sound like it's a large problem. It really isn't. It's been just minor incidents here and there, but it's a reminder that we're on the other side of the computer. There's not much we can do to kind of correct it. So hoping that you can help us out on that side of things. So with that, actually, before we go to questions, Dr. Moreno, anything you want to add?
I think just also the support from home in when kids are on the Google Meets and things like that, just checking in with them and seeing, are you in a session with a staff member right now? And if not, then encouraging them to close out of that.
Yeah. Again, our kids have been amazing. I've been popping into classrooms. They're on task. They're showing up to the classrooms. Our attendance has been really solid, in this program. So thank you for doing that, for supporting in that. It's just these minor little areas that if we can tweak, then I think we're going to even have a smoother time here.
And then, sorry, also just going back to the recording of sessions. So those are the whole group, kind of classroom sessions that are occurring with teachers and their students. And then the smaller group sessions that are tutoring sessions, special education services, and check-ins and like that will not be recorded. As the group gets smaller, there's just kind of a higher expectation of privacy when you're working with a smaller group. And so we just also are going to keep those at this time to not be recorded, but it's really the whole group lesson where everybody's getting, very similar instruction, that we want to have that available to for review for our students.
Yeah. Thank you. Cool. So this gets us to the Q&A time of our coffee. So I'm going to stop sharing and return to seeing you guys. And yeah, if you don't mind just throwing questions in the chat box and we'll go from there. All right. So throw something in the chat box and then we'll call on you. Unless we were so thorough, comprehensive that no one's asking questions. Let's see. Awkward silence, awkward silence.
Hello, I'm sorry, I don't see the chat box on my phone, so is it all right if I just ask my question?
Yes, jump in. And who was this? Sorry, I can't tell who it is.
No, that's okay. It's Lee Pernosky.
Oh, hi, Lee. Yeah.
So my connection was a little bit faulty a little bit ago. I just wanted clarification. Were you saying that when the class time is not in session, the kids are not to be chatting on the Google chat and stuff like that together without the teacher. Is that correct?
Yes, we're doing, and I think Google has now introduced a new feature. It's literally like a day old, so we still have to play with it. I don't even think it's a day old; it's several hours old. But which we think we'll be able to turn it off. But if you can kind of keep an eye on it, it'll just be helpful, right? To do that. So from our standpoint, we don't want kids gathering on their ASA Thrive accounts in sort of other Google Meets. Or ours, right? So teachers we have a little workaround to make that less likely, but our kids are super savvy, and in most cases they're beyond us in their tech skills. So we seem to be always chasing them. So that's what we're asking for, Lee, is that they don't gather in those in our. So you can imagine, group of kids are gathering there, and then something inappropriate is introduced in the discussion, and it's happening in our domain. That's no different than that physically happening at school, right? So we're just trying to avoid that as much as possible. Cyberbullying. Got it. And so on.
Yes, that makes sense. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So, and again, we just realized we just need help. We cannot do that 100% on our own, or as much as we're trying. And now with the tech features that have been kind of upgraded, we'll have a better shot of monitoring it. But we just ask parents to keep an eye out for things like that too. Yeah. Great question, thank you. Okay, we have a question from Hannah. Let's see. Kristen. With the enrichment lessons, STEAM, Spanish, PE be recorded also? Yes, and what's we're playing with a couple things, and some of our enrichment teachers are on here too. The way our schedule works, they actually have several classes at once. So when Miss Rodriguez teaches Spanish, she's not just teaching, Miss Tran's class. She has both Tran and Buena Flor, both fifth grade classes at once. That's a lot of kids. So in some cases, what we're doing, same thing for PE and music and so on, we're doing kind of live stream lessons, which are not as interactive as this, right? A live stream lesson is not much different than if the kid were to go onto the TV and turn it on and watch. It's very passive on their side, right? There's not back and forth. So the teachers that are doing live stream lessons are doing that because they have so many kids. So Coach Tate is doing that. I'm sure a few others are doing it, and their lessons are designed to be really just kind of one way, Other teachers, and I know I've seen, Ms. Rodriguez do this, is taking on both classes and doing this format of back and forth. So we're just kind of watching to see what works and what doesn't. But the short of it is, yeah, those lessons are also being recorded. Did I miss anything, Ms. Rodriguez? Is you there?
No, I've been trying both. I've been doing the live sessions with the back and forth with the students. And yesterday I had 4 classes together. So I did a live stream. Not a lot of the kids like it. They wanted to ask questions and see each other. So I'm going to give it a try next week with the 4th classes and see how that works. And if it becomes really overwhelming for the kids and for me, well, not for me, for the kids mostly, then we'll go back to live sessions. But I'm going to give it a try. We'll see.
Great. So yeah, by recording those lessons, whether they're live stream or live interactive like this, then those are also available for kids at times in which they cannot access them.
Yeah, and I've been recording them and posting them on the stream so that they have it and be able to watch it in case they weren't there at the time of the class.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hi, Perseda here. Is there a way to add what they're teaching for the week included in like Miss Tran's like worksheet that she gives? Because I'm able to help ITSE out when I'm done with my work day, but I really have no idea what's happening with the rest of the classes. Okay.
Yeah, let's I'll take that back and find the best way to communicate that. Some of the feedback we got was that sort of like a week at a glance was overwhelming. So we've been playing what's the best way to make sure you're getting that question answered. So yeah, I'll make sure that we collect. I looked at Ms. Tran, I thought I saw a pretty detailed sort of what the day looks like per se. She pushes out every day what is included for the day, but that's not what you're asking. Can you help me understand again what it is?
Sorry, there's I have kids over here, so they're crying. But so I have to run away really quickly and ask. But so when she sends out her agenda for the day,
Yeah.
I didn't see what they cover like in Spanish class. Hold on, babe.
Oh, okay.
So that's sort of my thing. I know what she's covering for her class, but I just don't know what they're covering for like Spanish class or music class, so that I can go ahead and help her out. Because I know like Spanish class she needs help, but yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So the general ed teachers do push out kind of what their day looks like. And like Ms. Tran, I've seen hers, so I know what you're talking about. Yes. So not included with that in that are the details of the enrichment classes, because the enrichment classes do that. So let's see if we can find a way. It really is a timing thing. Ms. Tran has that document ready days before, but she may not get her lesson from Ms. Rodriguez, who's teaching other grade levels, right? Until, the day before, the day of. So it's not making it onto that document, but this is good feedback for us, and we'll find a way that you're getting that information just as easily as you're getting kind of the general ed classroom. So see what we can do with that. Let's see, Christy, I'm having a hard time logging into some class apps that require Google login on the borrowed iPad. It seems to be blocked. Are we allowed to go to tech support with yes. So this, Christy, that's exactly the question. You want to go to tech support. So let me repeat it for everyone. So it seems like some sites that we're using or apps that we're asking of kids may be blocked. That's exactly what you want to go to our tech support with. They're really responsive. We're just finding some things are inconsistent. They're blocked in one home, they're not blocked in another. And so it turns them into detectives instantly, because they aren't expecting that. Sometimes it's a quick fix and it's just a thought of a site that needs to be unblocked. Other times, it's been a little bit more nuanced. But any tech questions, go to our tech support, and they'll do their best to jump on it quickly. Yeah, Danielle, your suggestion, maybe the enrichment topic can be included in the classroom teacher's daily agenda. Yes, I think obviously as few sites as places as you have to go to, the better. It's just a timing issue, right? When they get the content from the enrichment teacher, and when they're pushing that document up. But it is a live document, so maybe we can connect the dots between enrichment teachers and general ed teachers, and that way that we have the talking point for that, for the daily agenda. Cool. Yeah, and then Dr. Moreno just added the support email, support@optivait.com. Cool. What else is on your mind, guys? Cool. One of the things that hasn't come up in the last few days, but earlier in the question, in the closure, we had questions around like, what are we going to do, for kids who fall behind, and are they going to have to repeat or extend the school year, and all these kind of questions. So good questions, right? They're the right questions, and we some of them we had as well. At this point, there's no plan to extend the school year. It's why we're doing distance learning, to kind of continue this school year, same dates as originally kind of approved by our board. So there's no talk of extending a school year anywhere in California, to be honest. So that's not part of our plan. In regards to, helping kids kind of stay on track and prepared for next year, I spoke a little bit about it earlier, but one thing that, to consider is, especially for the third grade on up, CAS testing has been suspended for this year. Now, those are usually about 3 weeks of the school year where we kind of lighten up the instructional side of things, just because of the demands of testing. So those 3 weeks are not nearly as rigorous as others. Well, with those 3 weeks testing being gone, those are 3 weeks we get back now. And we get them back in distance learning, but instruction will just continue, kind of without the distraction or the interruption of testing. So there's a little bit of, instructional time, even though it's in this format, we get back there. And the other thing, to consider as far as kind of this catching up concern, so on, across the state, we're in this together, right? And just about every school in our surrounding area has closed. So we know that all the students are being affected similarly. And again, for Allegiance kids, being able to virtually go uninterrupted, you know, from March 13th closure starting on March 16th and stuff being available from the first day. You know, I know of other schools that are basically taking up nearly a month of no instruction. So our kids are not experiencing that. They're able to access stuff just about every day of the closure. So I'm not really concerned, you know, in comparison to, you know, to other kids. I think our kids are getting resources, you know, pretty frequently. You know, we're fortunate enough to be in a position to be able to do that. So that was a kind of a concern brought up, or question brought up earlier, which are the right ones, and, you know, ones we're grappling with too. But just kind of wanted to share all the thoughts that kind of go into it. What are the questions you have, gang? Hi, Mr. Raven.
471.
Let's see.
471 times 3.
Let's see.
Sir,
Yeah, question, comment?
well, I wanted to know if I could talk with you and Callie on the same channel for just like 5 minutes. It's just a Google class question, and I'm not sure if it's appropriate for this.
All right, let's do it. Yeah, we'll chat. We'll make sure we connect so we can. Maybe we stay on here. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Cool. That's it. No other questions?
Dr. Cognetta, I had a question. This is for Linda.
Linda. Yeah.
Do you know if the school's going to get any funding from the CARE Act? Have you had any notifications about that?
Yeah, it's all pretty early. You know, that legislation was passed so quickly that there's still a lot of just, what does it mean at the state and school level, you know? So we're anticipating around $10,000 that is to be used directly for distance learning. So if we need to get, you know, more iPads or, you know, software or something like that, right? That's what we anticipate. Now, again, we're fortunate enough to be in a position where we already had devices for every kid. So we're not really hurting for, you know, for devices for the most part. So that's good. Then that's as far as like the direct kind of addition to our budget from the CARES Act. The other side of it is just a potential loan, but that's for payroll. It's not really money allocated for resources for instruction and so on. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Thanks for it's Sarah, our Director of Business Service here, has been on it with the CARES Act and trying to follow all the guidance on it for sure. So we feel pretty confident on it. Again, we're not hurting for it. I know just because of the way our school is designed as a STEAM school, we're pretty prepared, you know, for something like this with enough devices, hotspots, and so on. That money really matters in schools that, you know, we're not really prepared to switch to distance learning. So I'm glad it's there for those. We've looked, since we had that extra kind of cushion, I've asked kind of staff to look for resources that they would need that they currently don't have, and see if we can kind of support them with that. So for example, you know, a lot of our paraprofessionals and instructional aides doing tutoring, if they need resources like whiteboards and document cameras, you know, they need to let us know, and we can see what we can do with that. See if we can get them to them as fast as possible. So that's kind of how we're looking at that money. Yeah. Let's see, Christy. Oh no, that's a. Let's see. I'll read your question. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. Let's talk. Yeah, Christy, you and I will speak. I'll call you after this. Yeah. What else is on your mind, gang?
There's going to be a remainder.
Did I miss a question? No.
Oh, it says my calculation.
Cool. Well, here I am with the awkward silence. You guys are doing your job, and I'm just sitting here silently. So apologies for that. Well, then we will kind of close this out if there are no other questions. And yeah, I think, you know, we used to do the coffees once a month or so. Given this huge change, you know, maybe every other week we can kind of fit one in for sure, just so we can stay connected in this in this different format. I enjoy it. I like hearing from you guys. So let's plan on doing coffee soon. Sound good to you guys? Yes, Ms. Rodriguez would like to thank the parents for doing such an amazing job with the kids. I agree. It is hard to work from home and watch two kids learn or try to help them learn. My poor kids are quarantined with the school principal, so that's got to be rough. So kudos to them. But yeah, thank you everyone again. This is being recorded. So if you have friends out there who didn't get to make it, just remind them that we have recorded it. We'll make it available through ASA TV shortly. And yeah, thank you for the kind words, folks. And it's very nice to see you all. We'll see you all again soon. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
What were we gonna say?
Oh, we're staying, huh, Mario?
Yes. Shall I wait till you tell me or just start talking?
But I think he's going to stop the recording.
Okay.
Give me a second to stop that, and then